Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Best Damn Pod in the Land. I am your host and sports director, Brian Nelson, and with me, I have...
You know it already, the one and only Andy Anders.
There you go.
Your assistant sports editor.
Hey.
Hey.
It's
your boy.
It's just your boy. There's no name. It's just your boy.
I thought he was referring to
Why
me.
you cut me off like
He's
that?
just hyping me up, you know?
I'm the assistant sports director, Kaladashi.
And I'm Brian Nelson.
The boy.
Whoa! My name's Griffin Stewart.
The boy. The man.
Well, anyway, folks, what do we got here today?
Are you actually going to introduce yourself?
I'm Griffin Strom. You know the name.
You know, if you watch, you know.
You already know? Okay.
The boy.
Okay, well, since you are me and Griffin, why don't you preview the topics we're going to talk about today?
So we're recapping the Michigan game, the game as it's affectionately known. We are also talking Big Ten Championship against Wisconsin this coming Saturday at 8 p.m. in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. We will be there covering the game for you. And we are also going to be previewing Ohio State's big top 10 matchup with the North Carolina Tar Heels down in Chapel Hill come tomorrow.
Bring back basketball to the discussion. We've been a little busy
A lot
with
of
football,
quality.
But, it's a top 10 matchup. We got to talk about it.
I mean, those Stetson games, I hated to leave out those Stetson games and those
Yeah.
Purdue
Morgan
Fort
State.
Wayne.
Morgan State was a real ripper of a contest.
Real rip off a scope.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, Andy. But anyway, okay, let's dive right into recapping the game. Ohio State won convincingly 56-27. I'm going to kick it over to my one and only Andy Anders to give his recap.
Well, your one and only.
Yeah, just my one and
The
only.
one and
The
only.
one and only. Thank you.
Now known as Brian Nelson's one and only.
No.
I'm everyone's one and only.
Yeah, which also means you're mine.
I know you guys couldn't see it, but I just winked at the camera.
I caught it.
I got
I
it.
see y'all.
Thank you. I feel like my sanity's slowly slipping away. But
You mean it hasn't already? What have you been doing this semester?
the viewers have just slowly watched us regret. Anyway, so Michigan, Ohio State. Back on a serious note, the main difference I think we talked about was the mismatch in the run game for Ohio State. Michigan's number 13 rush defense, while solid, we thought wasn't the caliber of Wisconsin or Penn State, and Ohio State dismantled Wisconsin and Penn State's rush defense, and it happened tenfold, I think, in this game. 264 yards on the ground, 211 of them from J.K. Dobbins, which isn't ungodly numbers, but just the way they were able to consistently pick up those chunks on the ground, hit big plays. It was just the physical mismatch between Ohio State's offensive line and Michigan's defensive line. Those defensive tackles were too small on the interior, too much from Ohio State's offensive line to handle for them. And then defensively, saw them come out kind of slow, pick it up in the second half. They figured out Shea Patterson, went to a little more man-to-man coverage, I think, kind of exploited the mismatches just in pure skill that they had on Michigan's playmakers on the edges. And, Harbaugh's now 0-5 in this rivalry. Day has cemented himself as having a good season at Ohio State with a 12-0 victory against Michigan. Now a platform to be a great or even all-time season.
Mm-hmm. And for reference, Michigan's rushing defense is ranked 13th in the nation. Heading into this game, it's now 23rd. They dropped 10 spots just from this game alone.
Whoa.
So,
It looked like it was going to be a game early. Michigan did come down on their first drive and score a big touchdown. And it looked like they could move the ball pretty consistently whenever they wanted to early on. What did they end up having at halftime? 13 points?
16.
I swear it was 13.
It was 16.
It was 16.
16? Okay.
Yeah, it was 28-16.
Yeah, because they got the field goal right before the half. Right?
Missed extra point in the field.
Yeah, so a couple of self-inflicted wounds kind of derailed the Wolverines a little bit because they were kind of matching Ohio State's pace tit for tat early on, and really able to gash Ohio State's pass defense, which we haven't seen at all to this point. But they had that fumble from Shea Patterson when they were threatening to score again, recovered by Robert Landers. So that kind of shot them in the foot. Then you had that big fourth down offsides penalty on a punt that extended an Ohio State drive that they ended up capping with the touchdown. And then they had to end up settling for that field goal right before halftime. I think it was Donovan Peoples-Jones couldn't hang on to it in the end zone, and they came away with just 3 when they could have had, honestly, a couple more touchdowns in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say my biggest takeaway was just the fear that went into all Ohio State Buckeye fans when Justin Fields went down with his knee injury. and we honestly saw a little glimpse of what this Ohio State offense looks like without its best player, Justin Fields, when Chris Chugunov comes in. And on the last play before he went out for Justin Fields, who came back in, we saw him throw a check down to, who was it, KJ Hill, who was like covered by like 4 Michigan players.
No,
he missed KJ Hill.
KJ was wide open on the play,
Wilson.
and KJ was also the first read on the play.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So I think that was just a lack of confidence, and you're getting thrust into this huge stage
Absolutely.
of the rivalry game.
Yeah.
Do I think Chris Chugunov is competent enough to lead this team to a victory if they were playing against even a top 15 team? Yeah, I do, because of the other pieces around him.
Mhm.
But if you're talking college football playoff, college football
Oh,
national
no.
championship, I don't think there's any way.
I don't think he would match up against Clemson's defense or even LSU's defense, not to mention whoever the number 14 would end up being. So
It honestly scares me going forward, though, thinking about, also we know that Justin Fields can get the job done without using his legs because we've seen it for majority of the season. But I'm also just scared of how serious the injury actually is because he even said in his press conference today that it actually still hurts. But there was no doubt in his mind that he's going to go play this game on Saturday. But I don't know. I'm just afraid that maybe one injury, one tackle low to below the knees could really end his season.
It'll be interesting to see exactly how.
And
Yeah.
that is a legitimate concern for the Ohio State offensive line, but because Wisconsin still has one of the best defenses in the country and is the best defense Ohio State has seen this year overall. Specifically, that linebacking core with people like Chris Orr and Zach Bond. When Ohio State faced Wisconsin and won earlier, Wisconsin did sack Fields 5 times that day. So that is something to note because a defense like Wisconsin's is going to come at you hard, and they're going to be super physical, and they're going to get into the backfield at least a couple times that game.
Yeah, definitely. Fields is going to have to go back to playing the way he played earlier in the season where if things aren't open, he's going to have to throw the ball away. I know these past 2 weeks against Penn State and Michigan, we've seen him get comfortable with extending plays and spinning out of the pocket and running out. Like, he made an impressive touchdown throw to Garrett Wilson on his first play back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Heisman moment.
It was huge, but I don't think we can Ohio State can afford to have him make those type of plays anymore going forward until maybe the college football playoff actually begins because
Well, then he'll get 3 weeks to rest the knee. And
Exactly.
at the very least, it's a sprain,
Yeah.
not a tear or anything that serious. However, I mean, 3 weeks is actually not a ton of time to rehab a sprain even.
Yeah.
I'm sure he will take it though. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be. It's better than playing the week after.
You're right.
And I'm sure they'll have they have the best one of the best training staffs in the country. They're working with him all around the clock, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Really, Ohio State's season kind of hinges on Justin Fields now. You're in that stretch run. This is the Big Ten title game. This is then the college football playoff. Definitely, if you win this game, maybe even if you lose it.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, Ohio State doesn't necessarily need Field to be running around and making all these crazy plays because they already beat Wisconsin without him doing that. Because I think Ohio State's going to utilize J.K. Dobbins as much as possible and just run him straight at this Wisconsin defense because that's what worked back in October, and I see no reason why it won't work again. I just think J.K. Dobbins in the offensive line is just going to be too physical for Wisconsin to keep up with for 4 quarters.
And the other element is these last few weeks, Ohio State's been playing in bad weather. Not necessarily rain, but against Michigan it was cold, it was windy, a little bit. There was some breeze going on at least. Against Penn State, it was cold.
No,
Last time they played Wisconsin,
a
it was
lot of
pouring
breeze.
down rain. I think that the fact that this game is in a dome is huge.
Yeah.
Because Ohio State has all these receiving weapons on the outside. You haven't seen them used very much this year, whether for the lack of competition or, they are a run-first team. But when Fields is called upon to throw the ball, I think you can have plenty of plays that are just designed for him to sit in the pocket and deliver a strike. He doesn't have to take that hit, hopefully.
Not only that, let's be honest. These past 2 years, we've seen what Ryan Day does in games where the weather is pretty nice out. Either it's earlier in the season or it's in Big Ten championship games. The offense is just way more explosive in the passing game when the weather is actually not as bad and it's in a controlled setting. So I expect Justin Fields to maybe not have a huge impact running the ball, but I expect him to probably have his best career throwing game.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, because Wisconsin has a very balanced defense overall, but where if there is a weakness in Wisconsin's defense, not that it really is one, but it is the secondary.
Yeah.
I think there's just not. There's no secondary in the country, I think, that goes deep enough to match up with Ohio State's receiving core. I'm not going to say they have the best receiving core in the country. They have a top
No.
5 because, like, LSU's and Alabama's are just out of this world. But they definitely, like you said, top 5, and I think they have the deepest receiving core in the country.
Yeah.
They have 5 guys who can hurt you, and there's very few defensive back rooms, if any, in the country that can go that deep with a receiving core, and I don't think Wisconsin is one of them.
Griffin, I have a question. Do you believe that Justin Fields, his injury could possibly, is there a concern that it could linger into next season?
Yeah,
Since you're the medical expert that we have here.
I don't know about all that, but I don't know. I don't know if it's pessimism, probably a little bit of that, a little bit of a cynicism as well. Maybe for me, I don't know. There's something about a quarterback just playing hobbled on a bad leg. I just think back to some RG3 with the Redskins situation, where he's got that brace on that leg and he just takes a hit to that same knee, and man, that thing does not look good.
Yeah.
And I'm just concerned because we've seen him go down, and even. I was calling it in the Rutgers game. He went down in the Rutgers game. He didn't stay down or anything, but he looked a little bit. He was grabbing at that same knee after one specific run that he had. That was the one when they ended up getting that goal line stand. And I was like, is he grabbing at that knee a little bit? Is he kind of hobbling a little bit or favoring that leg?
The brace.
And I know, but I mean, that was the first game. Then the next game was Penn State when you saw him go down. Then you saw another more serious thing happen this past game, and I just think I would be honestly more surprised if he didn't get injured in some way, where he goes down. I would be more surprised if he didn't go down again.
I would say my biggest fear is that he finishes out the rest of the season, and then going to the off season, we hear that he's having surgery on an MCL partial tear or something like that, to where it could linger into next season, and Ohio State maybe will be without a quarterback.
They're going to need him next year, I think, more than they need him this year with all they're losing.
Yeah.
And you're getting actually a good quarterback from the 2020 class, but he's not going to be ready first year. So
Absolutely not.
you absolutely need Fields next year.
Yeah.
And both Chugunov and Hoax will be gone too, so because they're both graduating.
Who knows? They might enter the transfer portal once again.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway,
We're getting way
too deep
far.
into it.
Yeah,
right
so
now we need
back
theories and
to kind of shifting to the full Wisconsin preview.
We went so deep.
just down that rabbit
into the
hole.
weeds, man.
Ready for another anecdote?
Oh boy, are we?
Sort of, actually. All right, you guys ready for another anecdote?
The cold open.
The cold open. So, you remember 2007 when Ohio State played Florida for basketball in the national title?
Yeah.
Right after they played for the football national title. That was the first time I remember my dad specifically saying to me, because I was a little kid at that time. I was, 8 years old?
2.
9. I was 9 years old. I was 9 years old, and Ohio State's meeting Florida, and they actually played earlier this season. I said, Ohio State beat them back then as a little kid. They should beat them again, right? My dad said, well, it's always difficult to beat a team twice.
Mm-hmm.
No matter who a team is, no matter how dominant you are, you don't want to play a team twice if you can avoid it. So that dynamic has always interested me in sports. When you get, especially in football, whenever teams play twice, because it's so rare in one season. And that's the main thing that scares me about this game. I think that Ohio State, on paper, in every regard, should win this game comfortably. And I'm going to predict a comfortable victory again. But you've seen a team before. You maybe have kind of felt out a weakness with them. Maybe something goes fishy. There's just something about playing a team a second time. Things can go awry. I guess that's kind of how I wanted to kick this off.
Especially when another thing that factors in, we were talking about how being in a dome benefits Ohio State, but it also does benefit Wisconsin too, because one of the main reasons why Jonathan Taylor wasn't able to rush against Ohio State's defensive line was because Wisconsin's defense was limited by the weather and by how well Ohio State's defense played, but it was just limited and was one-dimensional. Being in the dome will allow Wisconsin to utilize Jack Cohn and people like Quintez Cephas way more than they did back in October. Now, I think Ohio State will just be able to do it better than Wisconsin's offense will be able to, but if you look at what happens if Shaun Wade isn't healthy, what happens if Damon Arnett is still hobbled by his hand, that could be a key turning point all it takes is a couple scores, really, or a couple big plays, and Wisconsin has momentum.
It is.
All I can say is that I do expect Jonathan Taylor to have a lot more impact this time around than he did the first time around. I don't think that Ohio State's defense will hold him to 52 yards on 20 carries once again.
Yeah, that is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and not only that, like, I know we just seen Chase Young just finish the Michigan game with no sacks, and I know some people are thinking that where was he, but no, he had a huge impact on the game.
Yeah.
He was causing double teams, triple teams, and he was getting a lot of pressure. He was hitting the quarterback
Should have been
a lot.
drawing a lot of holding calls.
He was being held the entire game.
Exactly. So I think Wisconsin's offense will see a little bit of what Michigan did, but also they will look at what happened the first time around and try to fix some things to where they can get Jonathan Taylor out in open space once again.
Because Chase Young had a lot of success against Wisconsin. That's because he was lining up against like a tight end or just like
They
one
were
offensive
not-
lineman the entire game.
I don't
they
think they
weren't
respected him.
They weren't playing around him. This time they're going to
They
do
weren't
that.
scheming for him. The thing is, like, I think Ohio State's other defensive linemen will have a big impact again.
Yeah, I think Devon Hamilton's going to be huge.
Well, yeah.
Wisconsin historically, I said this when we previewed Wisconsin the last time, Wisconsin historically just doesn't match up well with Ohio State on offense because they're always a downhill running team, and Ohio State historically has always defended very well downhill running teams. So I think when you have that fact, you're able to make a team one-dimensional, take away the thing they do best, and force Jack Cohn to beat you with his arm, and he wasn't last time. Now, it wasn't bad weather. It wasn't bad weather that he wasn't able to beat them with his arm, and that they fully shut down Jonathan Taylor and just suffocated the running game. I still don't see him getting over 100 yards. I don't see him getting over 100 yards in this game.
I could see it, honestly.
I
I don't think it's going to
I have him right around 80. I think 52 is a huge ask, especially when you are going to have to account for the passing game a little more this
A
time
lot more, yeah.
in the dome.
Yeah.
I
I think we'll really see what
I don't
this
see.
Wisconsin
I don't exactly see him eating them alive at all.
No, yeah. I can just see this Wisconsin offense actually opening up again against this Ohio State defense. I'm not going to say they're going to have a lot of success scoring, but I can see Jonathan Taylor probably putting up big numbers.
Putting up some yards,
Yeah,
yeah.
putting up some yards, getting down the field, but
Bend
I
but
think
don't
he's
break
gonna
kind
have-
of a thing.
Exactly, yep.
I just would be surprised to see him go against a team 3 times and just get shut down the way he's gotten shut down these past 2 games against. I mean, literally like his worst performances of his entire career. I feel like he's going to have a chip on his shoulder and be like, this team's not going to stop me a third time. I mean, there's only so much he can do about it, you know?
Because it's really not a good look, especially if you're one of the best backs and you're probably going to go into the NFL. You've been running all over teams, but when you face an actual NFL talent type of defense, you're being held consistently. Like, they're holding you like you're just another back in this.
So much of it, like, is his offensive line getting beat in those situations.
But isn't Wisconsin normally known for having great offensive linemen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That's what's crazy.
But again, Ohio State is known for stopping downhill running
Yeah.
teams. The fact is, they match up so well because of the athleticism at the linebacker position. When you talk about Wisconsin offensive linemen are always big and physical and road grading, but they aren't athletic enough
Right.
to block linebackers in space at the second level when they have the athletic abilities that Ohio State's does. And the same on the defensive line. And then Ohio State's defensive linemen are also big, and they're also coached by the best D-line coach in the country. It's just it's really a bad mismatch for any team that tries to run downhill on the Buckeyes. The way you have to try and beat Ohio State now that Michigan showed that there hasn't been many teams that showed it.
Really just
Penn State showed for a little bit. Michigan State showed for a little bit. Has to be quick stuff, quick hitting things, and you have to catch them off guard. Hit them with something they weren't expecting. When they can scheme and know what you're going to do, and you stick with what's been your bread and butter all year, it really hasn't worked for teams, other than Michigan a little bit, because some of the stuff they ran was in their playbook, but they showed a lot of things they haven't run too. You've got to do a lot of quick hitting things, a lot of misdirection, trickeration, really the things that catch any defense off guard. You can't just line up and run your base plays, and that's what Wisconsin's offense is.
Gotcha. Do you guys think J.K. Dobbins is going to run all over this Wisconsin defense once again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, I would say so.
They might spread them out first. They might.
He's been averaging.
They might take a couple downfield shots early.
I don't know why. Obviously, we watched him all season long, but I saw that stat that said he was averaging I think it was 175 yards per game this season, and that's ridiculous to me. I don't know why. I find that so crazy.
Yeah. The main reason why I just don't think they'll be able to stop Wisconsin they'll be able to stop Dobbins is just because no team has been able to do that so far this season. Wisconsin was the best rushing defense that Dobbins was facing. He ran all over them in really bad weather.
Yeah.
And being in the dome is going to allow Ohio State to spread out the offense more, use Justin Fields to pass more, and that's just going to create more
That's
lanes for
where he
Dobbins.
made Zach Bond bounce.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be coming at them with that same intensity. Now, Wisconsin may be able to stop him sometimes, but I think that Dobbins is, first of all, going to be playing the entire game this time, and I think he'll just be able to beat them overall.
We're now. All right.
That was a weird.
Do we want to hop into predictions now?
Is there anything
Sounds
else?
good.
Is there anything else we want to
Hey,
talk
before we
about?
get into our
Kind
predictions,
of a
I do want to point out on CBS on Fox, they post out on their little Instagram post of their predictions of who's going to make the college football playoffs, who's going to be in the championship game, and who's going to win.
Uh-huh.
This was the first week, the entire season. Urban Meyer, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Brady Quinn, Rob Stone, and Joe Klatt, all 6 of them chose Ohio State to win the title.
Wow.
High praise. I'm surprised no one said Clemson. Clemson is the only team that scares me,
I
frankly.
think only Joe Klatt had them in the championship game.
Really?
with-
People had them losing to LSU.
Yeah.
I really don't think they match up well.
Yeah.
LSU does.
Only
I
Joe
think
Klatt.
I think Clemson's defense is too tough.
And LSU's defense really has
Compared to
not
LSU's.
been impressing like me lately. You look at what
Defense
happened.
wins the big games. We were
Look,
talking about this earlier.
if you look at what happened against like a team like Ole Miss, where they gave out over 400 yards of offense, you can't do that.
Now they've heard that. I think their defense will come in motivated for a playoff game. I just don't think in the end it'll hold its muster.
Mhm.
But predictions.
I got mine.
Prediction.
I predict a blowout once again, similar to 2014, just not a shutout. I have Ohio State 52, Wisconsin 14.
Ooh, okay.
That's a spicy take.
Yep.
You're not far off from mine actually.
We should text it in the group chat now so people aren't.
All right, so
You're the only one who does that.
I forget. I'm
here's
sorry.
how my math adds up. So we take the 38-7 score that happened last time. I'm going to add 2 touchdowns to Ohio State for the fact they're playing in a dome now, and it's not bad weather, and I'll add 1 to Wisconsin. It's 52-14. I'm going to take a touchdown back from Ohio State, actually, because of the familiarity concept I talked about earlier. You're playing a team the second time. I think Wisconsin's going to come out pretty motivated for this game. They aren't playing with something to lose.
Right.
They're going to be in the Rose Bowl pretty much regardless. It's the Big
If
Ten
they
title
lose,
game.
it'll be Penn State.
It'll be,
It'll
be
okay.
Penn State.
It'll
yeah.
be, well, depending on who's ranked higher. But
It'll-
yeah, Penn
yeah,
State
it
would be
depends-
ranked higher
yeah.
at that point, I think,
Only 2
So-
losses compared to
3. So I guess you're playing for a Rose Bowl and a Big Ten title, but you're not playing for college football playoffs like Ohio State is. And Ohio State's definitely not going to take anything for granted. I'm sure they'll have it in their minds
That
that they
sucks
need to
being
win to get
Wisconsin.
in.
I just thought about that. Like, dang, you're in the Big Ten championship game. If you lose, not only do you not have a Big Ten title, you're not going to the Rose Bowl because Penn State team who's not playing the title is going.
Well, they still could go, right? Didn't
If
they
they
say
win.
that there's there would be an argument even if they lose?
No, because it's based off of.
It's whoever's
The
ranked
best
higher at
that's
that
ranked.
point.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But as I was saying, so for that reason, though, the motivation and the familiarity, I'm taking a touchdown back. It's going to be 45-10.
7? Oh.
10.
Wow. I'm going to go 42-21. I don't think Ohio State's going to score quite as many as Khalid's predicting because of some of the things we talked about, just with the familiarity aspect, as well as the potential that they might be holding Fields back
Oh,
in
yeah,
some
that's
capacity.
I don't think they will, honestly. I mean, if they need him to run, they will. I don't think they need him to run, though, in the first place.
Yeah.
So 42-21?
Yep. That's what I'm rolling with, baby.
Just trying to think because I was essentially going to go with what Andy had at 45-40. No, I was.
If you think 45-14, just say 45-14.
Yeah, but then there's legitimately no chance of me winning.
It's not about
We have the conversation every week.
it's not about being different. It's just about what you think's going to happen. That's the whole point of a prediction. Man.
Yeah. Okay, fine. 45-14. That's what I think will happen. I think Wisconsin might get 2 touchdowns. Shut up, Khalid.
I was saying that.
Oh, I'm saying something.
This is Andy explains it every single time.
Okay, fine. Next time I will go first, and I guarantee
gonna
you
say.
I'll have the same thing. I always go last, so that's why. Because Andy always has reasonable takes, and I have reasonable takes too. Okay.
We all have reasonable
Freezing
takes.
cold takes on that side of the table, man.
Whoa.
I keyed that joke.
Whoa. Hey now.
Mr.
You
Back
act like
pedal.
you're. Khalid's the only one in here with spicy takes, let's be real.
For real. I got away from
Sometime.
it. No, I started off the season with firing takes and I was winning, and then I got conservative and I've lost. I haven't won since like week fucking 4. So
Alright.
Just like you lost in fantasy.
yeah, damn.
Out the
You didn't
playoffs.
have to do that to me, bro.
It is
It's okay though,
only-
because in my NBA fantasy, I'm right now second overall, and I have LeBron James and Anthony Davis as my
Every
duo.
time
So
you
it's
have it, I love
okay.
how every time Khalid has a chance to be disappointed about something, he's like, "It's okay though,
It's
because this
okay.
other thing."
You gotta have a
Yeah.
positive mindset,
Every single
guys.
time.
For reference, though, Khalid's on the playoffs, and the top 3 teams in our league are sitting right here. So, just want to say that.
In the top 10.
It's okay, my team
I've
underperformed,
scored the
guys.
most points, so
And I have a good attitude.
even if I have the second best record,
Listen,
Well, you're going down.
I blame my players.
I'll have
okay?
a bye this week.
You're going down.
We'd have to meet in the championship.
I made the playoffs, and I have 5 people on my team.
Dang, that's
currently
crazy. You
injured.
really switched this whole topic onto me not making the playoffs. That's sad.
Let's go to UNC instead.
Let's go to Chapel Hill, folks. Where we
Oh, where
find the Buckeyes.
Khalid is supposed to be.
Where the Buckeyes have their highest ranking in 6 seasons, and their 7-game winning streak is tied for the most they've been on in that same 2013-2014 season. The Buckeyes are red hot, and they're ranked ahead of UNC in a game that they're playing against each other for the 4th time out of their 14 matchups, and they've only won one of those, which is in 1992.
Okay, yeah. So what we talked about today with Chris Holtman on the media and us, the media, and Chris Holtman in the press conference, which I happened to be at. Griffin.
I watched.
I was in an exam.
He was.
I watched.
What
I
a
was in
slacker.
class. I was there in spirit.
Class ahead of an intern.
It's
Excuse
finals
me.
week, man. Hop off.
All right. So Holtman talked about this, and obviously he knows more than me, but I couldn't agree more. North Carolina is known for having size in the front lines, transition game, offensive, a really good rebounding team. It's what they've been since Roy Williams has been there. And I think that's really going to test an Ohio State team when you talk about some of the youth and inexperience in transition.
Sorry, that was just Casey throwing his prediction into the group chat.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
Hot take. What was the hot take?
49-17.
Ohio State, I'm assuming.
Yeah. No, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, 49-17.
UNC.
But
If Ohio State allows 49-17, they're out of the playoffs.
oh yeah, of course.
Sorry, go on.
The transition defense is an experience thing, right? And Holtman again talked about that today. But that's going to be a real test for this young team. When you talk about all the freshmen and first-year players that they have in the rotation, can you defend a highly skilled North Carolina team in transition? And I think it'll be important also, though, the experience that's in the front court for Ohio State with Wesson and Young to get bodies on those big men and prevent a ton of second chance points, because those can kill you in a basketball game.
Yeah.
Second chance points can absolutely obliterate your chances.
Oh, yeah. And I was listening to Chris Holtman's press conference, and I believe one of the media members brought up the fact that C.J. Walker is the only Buckeye on this team that's actually played at Chapel Hill. So I think his leadership could play a part because he's been in that big environment, because Chapel Hill is one of the most legendary college basketball arenas. But also, I feel like this, like I've been saying, I feel like this is a matchup made for DJ Carton. Cole Anthony and DJ Carton, they're both top 4 point guards coming out of their class. And I feel like they both kind of have similar playing styles, both transition type point guards, very quick scoring guards. So that'll be a nice little matchup that we could look forward to. But another point I want to make is Chris Holtman did say that the lineup that he's been going with, as he's been having Andre Wesson come off of the bench in replacement for Dwayne Washington. I kind of like it, honestly. He said he's kept it because for multiple reasons, but one of the reasons why is because Andre Wesson brings a little bit more maturity to the bench unit. And I kind of like the way they've been playing since then, because they started off the first, 2 games with Andre in the lineup, and they started out really, really slow on offense.
Yeah.
Right, he's reiterated throughout the season their lineup's going to be really fluid.
Yeah.
I think it's good to be versatile sometimes. It's good to have structure too. But I think for this young team, as you're figuring out how pieces fit together, keeping a fluid lineup and rotation is going to help with really just chemistry throughout the lineup because they really use a lot of their depth.
Yeah.
Not just chemistry, but it also helps helps you when other teams are trying to scheme against you and match up against you. If you have a fluid lineup that can just be very versatile, it keeps you from being predictable. And against a team like North Carolina, you need every edge you can get.
It was funny you guys say that because I was listening. He was talking about how his rotation could be anywhere between 8 to 10 guys. And he was like, well, honestly, that's pretty much all we have right now that's healthy. So they're basically using everybody that they have healthy. But I think it'll probably stay closer to around 8, maybe 9 guys consistently.
Well, Dwayne Washington's just been really hot this year so far in comparison to Andre Wesson, who before last game has been ice cold. And, he did kind of have a jilted start because of that eye injury that kept him out of a couple games. But I think he was shooting like 28% in his first 4 games this year. And I don't think he had more than 6 points in a game, something like that.
Yeah.
And he just exploded last game. He finally cut that stroke that we heard about in the offseason with Chris Holman saying that he was one of their best three-point shooters in the offseason. He hit every shot he took against Morgan State, 4 for 4 from the three-point line, 7 for 7 from the free throw line. He had 19 points, which almost doubled his season points total. So it's definitely good to see Andre Wesson getting back into a groove after that shaky start. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with Washington starting over him at the moment, other than the fact that I feel like I've just seen Washington get cold quickly.
Yeah.
And
He's very streaky.
Yeah, he's
thus
streaky.
far in his career.
Yeah, and he's up right now, but if he gets a cold streak, it wouldn't
He's
be a
out
bad
there.
idea to get Wesson back in that role.
What are some of your general thoughts on this great game, resident basketball expert Griffin Stewart?
I just looking at UNC when I was reading my preview today, I was just kind of alarmed by some of them. So it's like with this Ohio State team, you have most of the nucleus returning, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so different from a team, one of these blue chip programs like North Carolina. They lost their top 5 scorers from a season ago. Their top 5 scorers. So they lost all of their scoring. And 3 of those guys went in the first round of the draft. It's basically a completely new team. They still have a couple guys, Garrison Brooks inside. They still have him. But other than that, they lost Kobe White, lost Cameron Johnson, Nasir Little, Luke May as well. Just like a completely different team. It just has to be such a hard thing to do for these programs. I mean, obviously they have all the success anyway. But you see...
Just reloading every year.
Yeah. And the difference in usage between a DJ Carton at Ohio State right now versus a Cole Anthony who's leading North Carolina in scoring by 8 points. Not the second leading scorer is 8 points under what Cole Anthony's doing. And he's shooting 39% from the field. So basically, they're letting him go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like DJ Carton,
Green light.
They don't have Carton starting. I wouldn't say they're just turning him loose. He gets more comfortable in the second half of games.
Yeah.
But I mean, in a place like North Carolina, they're just like letting the young talent kind of go. And they've got that big 6'10", Bacat is his name. Were they pronouncing that in the press conference?
Armando Bacat.
North Carolina's playing the type of offense that I argued a couple weeks ago where I was telling about how I want college football to go to 24-second shot clock. Remember?
Basketball, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just feel like North Carolina right now is playing that exact type of basketball where they're just kind of letting their guys go. Cole Anthony literally has the ultimate green light. If he wants to take as many shots as he wants, he's going to.
See, I don't like that.
I mean, I get it. For a college basketball traditionalist, yeah, you probably won't like that.
I mean,
But-
he's a Carmelo fan. I mean,
yeah,
what do you
come on. I
expect?
want to see bucket getters.
You're a Carmelo. That explains a lot.
Yes, Carmelo.
I am the opposite. I do not like Carmelo Anthony.
I love Carmelo. That's my guy. Listen, I know.
As a player-
I'm not delusional though.
As a
I
person.
understand. I understand. There's his flaws in this game. People don't like that he doesn't put a lot of effort on defense, and he takes his field goal
He's
percentages.
inefficient.
Yeah, we get it, but
And he's a ball hog.
in his not anymore. He's accepted.
Well, yeah,
his
because he
role.
can't be anymore.
He's accepted. Hey, he was player of the week in the NBA.
Oh,
Western
wow.
Conference.
You
That man could- Anyways, we're off
Yeah,
topic.
he
we're off
was,
topic.
he was named Player of the Week just because he had like one good week when James Harden was averaging
one
like
good
44
week. He was his
points.
only week. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
but James Harden was averaging 44 points that week. Melo only got the award because it was his first week back.
Facts.
James Harden was the Player of the Week in the Western
So you're
Conference.
telling
Let's
me
not
that
even kidding.
the league that kept him out of the league, you're telling me is gonna all of a sudden just give him player of the week just
They're a
because
sucker
Did
for
you
that
see people
storyline,
like you
man.
that love him?
Did you
Harden-
see
Listen,
James Harden's stats?
Harden puts up 40 minutes sleep. That's not impressive anymore. Okay, I need 60, and he did that. That was impressive.
He had one of his best weeks.
All right,
Anyways,
all right,
are we talking
all
about North
right.
Carolina or are we talking about?
All right, we're gonna talk
North
about
Carolina
NBA.
is like the 130th ranked scoring offense in the country or something ridiculous.
But where's Cole Anthony?
Where is he at?
He stopped somewhere. No.
And they're only shooting 30% from three, which is not good. And Ohio State, who really wasn't a good scoring team at all last season, and they, I don't know how much they struggle to shoot. They weren't consistently knocking down a lot of threes last season, but they're shooting like 37%, which is like top 27 in the country or something like that. I think that's a solid number for Ohio State to be at right now. And kind of a shockingly low number for a team like North Carolina in terms of scoring in general, just because they are, a top 10 team right now. And they did lose to Michigan. And they've played some close games. They've had single-digit games against Notre Dame, Alabama, and that Oregon game as well.
Yeah.
So they've already played a couple battles that came down to the wire, whereas Ohio State, it really was just that Cincinnati
blowing
game,
them out,
and they
yeah.
just blew Villanova out of the water. So it'll be
Speaking of Villanova, though, we talked about how back when we were previewing the Villanova game, how Villanova's length could be a problem for Ohio State, but we also turned it into a positive and said that, hey, if Ohio State can play small ball, this could be the opposite effect. We didn't expect 25-point lead win, but I feel like this is kind of a similar game where North Carolina is a bigger team, and they can probably outsize Ohio State. But if Ohio State, I'm telling you, Dwayne Washington comes out and starts clapping threes again, this
Carton.
can...
starts clapping cheeks again.
Hey, whoa. This is a family podcast,
This is a
sir.
G-rated podcast.
Oh, no, we cuss on here from time to time.
I mean, PG-13.
It is.
Test for the folks who are still watching.
And that's all we have time for today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I don't think anyone's watching
Which might
it.
be seriously
All right, you want to hear a
black.
stat, Griffin? You want to hear a stat? This is so. My thoughts on this game can be summed up by a couple stats here. North Carolina is 247th in the country in field goal percentage.
Jesus,
247th.
that's not good.
Really quick,
They're the worst team in the country.
they're pretty bad at it. Now, what they are in offensive rebounds?
First.
18th. So, you know what this is going to come down to? How much can Ohio State limit the second chance opportunities? I don't think North Carolina is actually going to make a ton of shots unless they're getting a ton of shots.
You know who their key players for that? Mr. Kyle Young.
Yep. That
The
X Factor
Energizer Bunny.
hustle guy.
Yeah.
All that attention's going to go to Caleb on the glass. Boxing out Caleb. Kyle Young in there with that hustle game.
Oh, KY, man.
Kyle Young. Gotta love him. Gritty. Salt of the earth. Just nose to the grindstone. Just a hard-working player, man.
To the earth.
Anyways, let's just get to
High
our
basketball IQ.
Clapping them cheeks.
Whoa.
Oh boy.
That was way too far.
You're out of line.
All right, let's get to our
I'm
predictions.
just following the wonderful example set by Mr. Griffin Stewart.
Our sports editor.
Extraordinaire.
Yeah,
I forgot to say.
the one and only.
All right.
71-62 Ohio State.
Oh, we're dropping scores. Okay.
I thought you said predictions.
Nah, yeah, but I was thinking more like win or loss. But yeah, well, you said Ohio State.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
That's a
Kyle
big
Young,
win, though, for the
Kyle
comeback.
Young and Caleb Wesson keep them off the glass enough. North Carolina just isn't effective enough, and I think they maybe don't take Ohio State seriously enough, even if it's a top 10 matchup. And I know Roy Williams is a great coach, but Ohio
Do you
State's
think-
just come out of left field, and they've won one of the last 13 meetings. Ohio State hasn't won this meeting since 1992. When was the last time they played? You remember?
Actually, in 2017.
2017, right? They have players on that team who remember, and that game wasn't close. So
I feel like this game though means a lot to Chris Holtman and his program.
exactly,
If they
it
win
means
this
more to
game-
Ohio State. They're going to have the heart to keep them off
Holy.
the offensive glass.
This program.
North Carolina doesn't have the shooting efficiency as we've established.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be not only a win, but a win that's like not on a buzzer beater for Ohio
If they
State.
win this game and go on to have a great season like we're expecting them to have, this could be the turning point for Chris Holtman's program where Ohio State joins one of those.
The ranks of the elite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
He's the coach. I think we've always known he's the caliber of coach to do it. It's just how long is it going to take?
yeah.
And is he going to be here? Well, yeah, that's a lot of speculation. But
Let me see.
I have an Ohio State win. I've predicted
What-
Villanova
what'd
to
you
beat 71-62. And I predicted Villanova to beat Ohio State, just for reference. So everyone knows I'm not a homer.
I think this will be a higher scoring game. I think it'll be 80-75 Ohio State.
Let me tell you why it'll be a lower scoring game.
Right.
Ohio State is the second best defense in the country in terms of opposing field goal percentage. The opposing teams are shooting 32% against Ohio State, and Andy just said that North Carolina is one of the worst shooting teams already in the country.
Another
I think it
prediction.
might just be a low scoring.
Another prediction.
That's why I had him
Cole
at
Anthony?
62.
Cole Anthony drops 30 on his team.
No, the perimeter defense between Carton and Muhammad is too athletic.
Okay, so Griffin, what was your score
I
prediction?
don't have that. I don't see that one.
He's about to be a
I do appreciate that the hot takes are back though. With that
Yeah,
one.
no problem. I had to bring it back.
62 to 67, Ohio State.
We're really predicting basketball scores. Like this is this is not predictable.
Okay,
got a lot of games to
I'm just
predict.
gonna have a fun with I'm gonna go with the thriller. Ohio State wins 73-72 in overtime.
Ruh-roh.
So all of us
Overtime.
thinking, I thought I was being the spicy one picking Ohio State. Then you all picked Ohio State because
Brian just wants to get on my hot take.
it's because
level.
I brought out the facts with the field goal
He-
percentage, and you're all
he's
sitting
trying
there
to be as
like, oh
spicy
my,
as
they
me.
actually aren't efficient on offense. Let me go with Andy.
Listen, Andy. I'll take your facts and
Didn't
I'll
I
point to
say
another
those-
fact.
didn't I
Ohio
say
State is
stats
currently
like that,
ranked
like 5
number
minutes
6. North Carolina is number 7. That means Ohio State's better.
Not necessarily, but
No. Facts are facts. I think I just broke Andy with that.
Well, folks.
I'm already broken. You just took a sledgehammer to the pieces.
I'm proud of that one.
Well, guys,
I think that's
it's
a
been
good note
fun
to end on.
chat.
Yeah.
Griffin, go ahead. Close it out, Griffin.
If you've been watching this podcast and are still here, I'm sorry. I hope you enjoyed
No,
it.
you're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're
at the same
welcome.
Got a
time.
little rated R towards the end.
Yeah.
You get to see the inner workings of my mental breakdown, okay?
All of our collective mental breakdowns.
Yes.
Thanks to Finals Week and
Let
everything.
this man close it out.
Oh, you want to close out? Go ahead.
Not necessarily, but I will do so if need be. Well, folks, that's all the time we've had for you today. It's been lovely spending our late night with you tonight, talking sports as we love to do. Keep on rocking in the free world.
That's why I normally do the outro.
No, we should freeze.
Peace out. Wait, yeah, you
Should we just freeze?
Peace out, guys. Thank you very much for watching Best Day Final We'll be back next week.